As ESR starts its 5th season of GT3 racing, we open a new series of touring car racing. 3 manufacturers and 10 circuits from across Europe and the US. Here's a little bit of what to expect in this upcoming season here at Evolution Sim Racing TCR Season 1. Good evening everybody, and welcome along once again to the 3rd round of the Evolution Sim Racing Touring Car Championship. As we head from one of Britain's most iconic circuits, we find ourselves now at an American staple, the Daytona International Speedway, arguably second only to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Here on the east coast of Florida, near the beautiful Daytona Beach, we have 3.5 miles of track to cover throughout every lap of tonight's racing. 13 corners, only 5 of which requiring any sort of braking, and really only 2, by my standards at least, requiring any significant braking. With a bank section of 31 degrees, it's important that the drivers look to get a good exit out onto that banking to capitalise within the slipstream of the cars ahead, which will be a crucial tactic this evening. So my name is Joseph Glass, and as always I'm delighted to talk you through tonight's action ahead of 3 exciting and quite strategic sprint races. We currently have about 35 guys out on track putting down their pace ahead of our closed qualifying session. But before that, let's have a look, as always, at the sponsors showcase. So first up, Kame, the home and building automation experts providing integrated high-tech solutions for private homes, public venues and urban spaces. The GP2 Group, a management consultancy firm specialising in business acquisitions, property management and developments. AB Designs, a bespoke sim racing liveries designed to your specification across all the leading sim racing titles, including iRacing and ACC. And finally, Get Good, offering coaching and guidance via a new online self-paced learning package which is accessible, in depth and effective. So if you're interested in improving your iRating, then be sure to get in touch. Links for this and all of the above available in the ESR Discord. So, after round 1 last week, we can take a look at how the standings stack up as the drivers head into the 3rd round tonight. We can see Wojtek Sviridovich still leads the way, maintaining his championship lead. He had another flawless round last time with 3 podiums, as you can see there, a P1 and 2 P3s across the 3 sprint races last week. Matthias Pentila moves up a few places actually. He steps up from 3rd into P2 in the championship. Some consistent results, a P2 on the podium and 2 P4s see him now on 238 points. He needs a good performance tonight to keep within touching distance of Wojtek ahead. 25 points the margin, still very, very doable. Ryan Ottens steps up from P5 into P3. He got himself on the podium last week after a disappointing race 2. The gap there over a race worth of points. The maximum points you can achieve in one sprint race tonight is 50. Ryan finds himself 54 points out, so he again must look to continue that good run of form that he ended on last week to try and stay in touching distance of Pentila ahead. Luke Lucchese next in P4. He's up 2 places from P6 with another competitive scoring. The other South African driver in there in the top 4. Duncan Kirby comes in with a P5. He'll be looking to get himself on the podium after some strong results in the opening round, and you can see there 2 P5s, which did him well last week, but still the podium is yet to be achieved by Duncan, so he will be hopeful of that tonight. Still very close in behind Lucchese. Wayne Douglas next. He's moved up from P9 to P6, straight up there, replaced by Jeremy Chioka. And Wayne got himself a win in the second race last week. So again, he'll be looking to maintain that good form and get some elbows out around what will be a tricky track. As we said, it's different in these cars particularly. And for some of these drivers, I'm sure it will be the first time in a competitive environment around this track in these cars. So it'll be interesting. Patience will be key. Not many laps, I would imagine. We'll see what the lap times are going to be shortly, but I can't imagine there'll be too many. Let's take a look at the M class. Then we have Andrew Fellows, who takes the lead of the championship. He's gone from P6 all the way up to P1, so an absolutely monumental effort from him last week. That'll have been helped, of course, by Hussein Sarakadesla suffering 2 DNFs in round 2 and round 3 last week, which demotes him from first down into 4th. James Howarth in P2 for DXT Audi Motorsports. Again, a small margin from there up to P1, so he will be hoping the Brit can tackle the Brit. And the Frenchman in behind, Francois Brandet. Again, no podiums for Francois just yet, but he's always been there or thereabouts. Some P4s, P5s, P6s and P7s. Let's hope that Francois can get himself up onto the podium in one of tonight's sessions. Gareth Newton in P5 with Rob Smith for Flatline Racing in P6. The man there with 2 podiums. And interesting, Daniel Saunders, even with 2 race wins to his name, only able to hold on to P7 for the moment. And of course, a word for James Bostock, who got himself a hat-trick of race victories last night, the 166 machine. And he has gone from nowhere to somewhere, all of a sudden with that nice round 150 points tally coming in from those 3 race wins this time last week. The teams then, helped by that points haul there by Bostock, and unfortunately, well, actually interestingly, with Huss getting 2 DNFs, they still find themselves comfortably up there, nigh on 100 points clear, just under, from the DXT Audi team of Hoyland, Howarth and Brandet. Again, they were looking in their new livery actually to get that up onto the top step perhaps across their classes tonight. Flatline Racing up next. It's been good results for Rob Smith, and as we alluded to before, Daniel Saunders did them a favour in the opening round by getting those 2 victories, and then I think it was Rob who came in last week and got some good results, so that maintains them up on 352 points. Closely followed by, though, the RD Sim Sports team of Matthias Penteler, James Holman and Rob Sutherland. Rob, unfortunately, serving a qualifying ban tonight in the session after some incidents last week around Brands Hatch, which have been decided by our stewards team, so he will be unable to compete in qualifying and will start at the back of the grid. Jeremy Chioka and Jimmy Vyman, the 2-man army in the top 5 for G-League, bring in some good points in the Pro Class for both of them. And the top 6, the sister team, the Hyundai team of Suma GP2, Mark Proctor, Paul Cowlishaw and Robin Aston, only 5 points behind the top 5, so they'll be looking to improve. We see the other sister team of DXT Honda, of Danny Weir, Rob Mackay and Mark Wesley, with Octane, RDSA, MRC, rounding off your top 10. And finally, then, the incident rating is just going to brush over this one. As you can see, we have Wojtek, Ewan and Stephen, the cleanest thus far in the Pro Class, and Bostock, Gareth Newton and Robin Aston. The 3, actually, there, look, the 3 of the Suma guys, 1 from the Hyundai and 2 from the Honda. So great work by those guys so far this calendar. And just like that, that's the formalities wrapped up. And I'm now back on centre screen, and we can take a look at how the guys are getting on in this practice session, which will be nearly over. We have 6 minutes left, actually. Surprising we've got that much time. But nonetheless, we can definitely take a look at how these guys are getting on. So last time I checked, we had just over 30. We still do. 32 guys on the circuit at the moment. Matthias Penteler this week, pipping Wojtek Svidovic to, again, I keep saying provisional pole, as there's is that a G-League car down there, or perhaps could be Ottens down there, who's just missed his pit marks ever so slightly. Yeah, so Matthias Penteler bringing it to Wojtek this week. Every time we've cut to practice, we've seen Wojtek clear by some margin. Lucchese still 3/10 behind these guys, and only 2/100ths of a second separating P1 and P2 in the Pro Class. James Howarth and Rob Smith up there again with less than a 10th, separating the top 3, and we've got 2 guys going wheel to wheel as they cross over the line. Will that be Robin Aston by any chance? Let's go and take a look and see what's happening down there. Just under 5 minutes to go then, before we get underway with qualifying. Got Suma and the DXT guys heading around the infield section of this circuit. Turns 1, 2 and 3. And then the flat, or at least flat in GT cars actually, flat out through turn 4. And they're just now heading through turn 5, the West Horseshoe. And let's see the crucial exit onto the banking. Got to keep it tight and be able to get your foot down to the floor as soon as possible to carry as much speed as you can. And you really get a good sense of the banking here with the gyro cam relative to the track and not the car, or should I say relative to sea level and not the car. So as the banking unfolds, you see how much of an impact it's having on the car there. As I said earlier, 31 degrees. And we'll definitely see the slipstream in action. I would not want to be defending P2 and P3 on the final few laps of this race, because that could be the difference. And it'll be interesting to see how the, I guess, is there a word for this? The multiple slipstream, you know, the guys in P3, P4, P5. Will the revs in the engine actually allow these guys to get the speed? It might cap out at some point. It seems, though, as though Robin is still gaining momentum. It sounds like he is, at least. And he'll just be about in the slipstream of the car ahead, but nothing too significant. He won't be getting dragged in. It'll just be helping ever so slightly. Here is the pull man, the 180 machine of Wojtek Swiatovic, who it looks. It's very difficult to tell actually whereabouts on the track. I thought it was turn 1, and it is turn 1. He's just crossed over the checkered flag. Keep our eyes out then and see, can Wojtek take it to Mateus in the closing stages? There'll really only be time for this lap. By the time Wojtek gets back around, there won't be enough time to complete the lap. It's looking like the guys are setting times of 156s, 157, 158. So we're only just within 2 minutes a lap here. So there'll be very few laps, 9 or 10 laps for the drivers to complete in each of the races as Wojtek heads now onto the banking. Let's see where he brakes here. We've got the meter board, well, not the meter boards, I should say the braking boards just up to the right there. 3 he passes, 2 he passes. Just halfway, I think just after halfway between the 2 and the 1 board. Getting on the brakes, riding the entry curve, riding the mid-corner curve and the exit curves. And you can cut that final curve quite a bit to limit the distance that you travel, to maintain those minimum speeds as you head around the final banking. I think it's turn 13. I've seen a few maps that are slightly different to one another, depending on how you count the corners, I guess. But the one I'm going off, turn 13. That's a bit of a better camera angle, I think, for this kind of venue, so we'll bear that one in mind. So then, just under a minute to go. These guys finish their practice laps. What a grandstand that is. Not sure if I'd like to be packed in there, but over 100,000 capacity at the Daytona International Speedway. I'm not sure if that itself is 100,000. It could be, to be honest. It could well be. I mean, you've got, I guess, general admission kind of standing areas all the way around the banking, I think. But that is one hell of an American stand. And that wouldn't surprise me if that was near the maximum capacity. Wojtek was unable to improve, and he is still that margin just behind Pentela. There it is, James Howarth, Rob Smith and Bostock keeping those same lap times as we closed the practice session with Casey Still 3/10 off. So I don't think anyone there at the top of the classes improved all that much. Now it's where it matters. These drivers will have an outlap and 4 laps of a closed qualifying session to complete and to set their times. So we'll keep an eye out who is out first. We see Wojtek not wasting any time there. He is off out onto the circuit. It's a very long pit lane. You have a very wide entry. You can kind of enter it however you like. And he's still got the limiter on, and there you can unlock the engine, and away you go onto the live circuit. As always, the closed session here, so the drivers lapping at the same time. We just can't see them all. Tyre warming there by Wojtek in the early stage. I'm not really sure the banking's the kind of place that you'd want to be doing some tyre warming, so best to get it done in the infield. Format throughout the night, the reverse 10 and reverse 15 grids, so let's watch out for the top 10 in race 1 and the top 10 in race 15. He that finishes in P10 will start the second race on pole position. And the driver who finishes the second race in P15 will start the third race on pole position. So a chance for the guys who aren't really competing for race victories to get themselves up in the mix. Although around this kind of track, you probably wouldn't like to be at the front. You want to be in the slipstream. It's easier for the tyres, it's easier for the car. It's a long bold lap. Be over 2 minutes, I would imagine, these out laps. Let's ride on board then with a man who's likely to set a very competitive time at the first time of asking. As he crosses over the line, you want to be braking just as you cross over that final white line on the track. Coming all the way over to the right hand side. He's down in second gear, keeps it tight to the left hand side. And flat through turns 2 over both curves. Over to the left hand side of the track. Braking down tricky, one of the heaviest braking zones in the lap. Keeping it tight, but you can run out wide. The track extends really beyond that line if you need it. You do want to keep it as tight as you can. This should be flat. Easy flat as he turns in. And braking just before the white line. Drivers will be entering this corner probably more different than any other corner. Some guys will like to take it wide, some guys like to cut in toward the apex and hug the apex as they turn the car. Oh, that was just slightly, just dipped the wheel on the outside of the circuit, a little bit of a wobble, but that'll be okay. Definitely time that can be improved. And now onto the banking, the first time of the lap where a bit of concentration could be lost. It's a long stretch, and if you've got a car in front of you during the race, it's difficult to pick the braking zone. We'll be seeing drivers dipping in and out of the slipstream just to gauge exactly where they are. To see those braking boards. He passes the 3, passes the 2 and gets on the brakes. The rear steps out there. A lot of curb, that could be okay. That final one's touch and go. And we've said tonight that the drivers are not allowed to use that flat section on the left hand side of the yellow and black lines. You must keep it on the banking. Until of course you're at the pit lane. Wojtek pushing all the way to the line, the shortest distance. He's going to run, and across the line he goes to set the first time of the night, a 1:56.779. Let's see if that's beaten or how close they get. Danny Weir, a 1:59.0. Current provisional pole time in the AM class. Wayne Douglas, 8 tenths behind in Cowlishaw. A tenth off there, so nearly a second. to Wojtek, and Lucchese comes along and puts in a lap time half a second clear, or half a second behind, should I say, the provisional pole man. Ryan Ottens, the 164 from Alpha 1 Esports. Robin Aston has come along and taken that away from Danny, a 58 this time. Close to the 57s, and it'll be good if we can see the pole guys within a second. Let's see if that can happen around here. So much time to be lost and gained all around the track, obviously particularly in the infield section. But even here, you know, a few tenths at least. Obviously no drivers benefiting from a tow, for example. If we had an open qualifying session, you could see some teammates coordinating the tow, so it's slightly difficult to do to not completely disadvantage one driver over the other. But no such thing in these closed sessions, all the drivers punching the air themselves, which I guess keeps it all fair and square. See the standings overall then. Wojtek does improve and drops it down by a tenth into the sixes. And James Howarth comes across the line with a 1:57.9, so 1.3 seconds off the pro pole. Is the AM pole at the moment. Ryan Ottens comes across the line. Did he improve his time there? I'm not sure he did. Jijn Stitchbury has moved up with a 1:57.5. He finds himself in P6. There's Pentela there as well, still 3 tenths behind. That's usually the kind of margin that we're beginning to see. But the battle between P2 and P3 very close. Matthias improves now with just over a tenth away. And I didn't take note of the times that we had in practice, so I'm unsure if these guys are beating those times. The track will have evolved ever so slightly since practice, not awfully that much, but you often find that some of these guys don't improve on the practice times. They've had so many laps to find that lap time, and then when you have to put it in within 4 laps, sometimes a little bit of a difficulty to lap it where it counts. At the moment though, it is Matthias with the fastest sector 1 and fastest sector 4 times, and Svidovic with the fastest sector 5. Rob Mackay for DXT Honda Racing, rocking a new livery tonight, which I can be grateful to Matt for giving me their names so nicely presented on the top of the windscreen there. You can't miss that one. There it is. Who's that? It's Rob Mackay. And you'll see that across all of the 6 DXT liveries tonight, so it makes it easy for me and it makes it easy for them on stream to catch themselves in the pack. And it also shows the guy through the rear view mirror exactly who it is behind them, in case they weren't already aware. Howarth still leading Aston. A tenth between the two of them. And look at that Duncan Kirby. Although he needs a bit more time to catch up with the pro class, he's only 1/1000th behind Robin Aston. Matthias Pentela into turn 1, keeping it tight as he can really. Getting the foot down, getting a good exit. Obviously this track all about the exit. Better to probably brake slightly earlier, get it tucked in, get it gripped up and get your foot down. Carry the speed throughout all of these sections. The exit of 3, the exit of 5 and the exit of 7. Be interesting to see how these guys tackle potentially two wide scenarios going into the chicane before the final run across the line. Blimcam could be quite a good one, actually. For when we see them all going through turn one. Oh, he's gone deep. That could be an off track there. But he will continue, and he has one more lap, I believe, after this one, to set an improved time. James currently down there in P11, not the time that he will be looking for. And let's see if that was an invalid lap time as he comes across the line. Will he improve? Duncan Kirby has just put it into P8 in the Pro Class of 157.668, and he gets awfully close to the wall there, really maximising the entry. Dave Bostock there. I think he has just improved his time there. 58.7, moves himself up one place ahead of Francois Brandet. Drivers entering the pit lane now as they have probably finished a lot of the laps. Let's see, Wojtek finished, Mateus finished, so there is the, well, I would imagine the pole times for the Pro Class settled. Mateus unable to dislodge. Wojtek Sveridovic at the top, only a 10th in between those two guys. Lucchese's done, Vinan's done, Chioka's done, and Douglas is done, so the top 6 settled there for the Pro Class. Yayan is on his final lap, and let's follow him as he heads now through the chicane. And the brakes take a lot on the entry, all over the place. That's not good. That's not good. And that is Yayan not looking to improve, and I think there he's going to pull to one side and probably exit qualifying. So the numbers keep dropping. P9 in the pros settled. In fact, as I look up and down the timing sheets, there aren't many left to go. Stephen Fry about to cross the line. Will he improve down there in P14? He's only 3/100ths of a second behind Chaz Turicott for number 110. Let's see. Was that an improvement? No, it was a valid lap, but not an improved time. Francois is the only man who's got some laps under his belt. He's going to finish this lap and he'll commence on one more. We're right on board with Francois as he heads around for his final lap time down there in P11. If he can find 2 chances, he'll find 1 position, or maybe even 2. It's very, very close, as you can see there. Not even a 10th. Separating P7 down to P10. Francois will think, yes, please. He'll know that 3 or so tenths will get him up nearly up into the top 6, or top 7 at least. Bright Florida sunshine over this racetrack. Blue skies. Some perfect conditions. Some racing, definitely. And it's wide by Francois. That will not be an improvement. And that then looks like we have finished qualifying as Francois styles it out as he heads around onto the banking. I'm sure he'll pull to one side at him in a moment. We actually have Owen Seward. No, he's done as well. And Ryan Ottens is... looks like he's flying here, actually. No, he's backed off as well. That will be qualifying then complete. Crosses the line, perhaps there, a little race start, a little practice launch by Ottens. In fact, that's exactly what he's doing. Smart move there, Ryan. Francois the same. We're going to see him coming into picture any second now, unless he cuts back to the pit lane. Thank you to the guys joining in the comments and the rest of everyone watching on. And we hear him. Are we going to see him? There he is. Took a little bit longer than we thought, but there he is. Francois comes across the line and he will be the final man on track for this qualifying session. And there it is then. All wrapped up. So then, the grid for the opening round here at the Evolution Sim Racing Touring Car Championship at Daytona International Speedway. It's Wojtek Swiatovic, of course, the man who takes pole position. Closely followed by Matthias Penteler on the second row of the grid, the Finn. Followed by the South African man Luke Casey on the second row of the grid with Jimmy Vyman in P4. Jeremy Chioka there with G-League, actually good result for G-League in qualifying. In P5 with Wayne Douglas in P6. Jan Stitchbury, Matt Hoyland, Duncan Kirby and Paul Cowler show the top 10 with Raz Harper, Stephen Donnelly and Ryan Ottens there at the end of the pros. James Howarth taking pole position then in the AM class. He sets away first for DXT Audi Motorsports and Robin Aston for Suma GP2 Hyundai. And a DXT again, so Robin in a bit of a DXT sandwich with Rob Smith, Chaz Draycott, Stephen Fry and Alex Fretwell, your top 20. Alex Cohenrath, Gareth Newton, Graham Matthews, Rob Mackay and Oliver Lums in the top 25 with James Bostock, Francois Brandet, Hussein Sarika Desla, Owen Sood and Daniel Saunders, the top 30. Max Nevincharny, Andrew Fellows, Dave Collier, Steve Rubino, Mark Wesley, those two guys, debutants tonight with Rob Sutherland serving his qualifying ban and Ashley Brooks not setting a lap time throughout that session. So, we'll be underway very shortly as I come to terms with what the best camera is to use around this kind of circuit. Not an ideal angle, and I don't think any of them were that good, so we'll have light, and I think I might jump to blimp at some point if we keep it out the way of that big building. We will soon have the lights ahead of the first sprint race, 20 minutes ahead of these drivers. And it will be a different scenario, as I alluded to earlier. Not many of these guys will be used to these cars around this type of track. We have lights, there's the first. And when they go out, we'll be away. And that was, they weren't held for long at all. And we're away. It's a bit of wheel spin there for one of the Hyundai cars in the back, the Suma guy. He got himself bogged down ever so slightly. It's the DXT driver in there, Jan Stitchbury and Raz Harper, who nearly go wheel to wheel. And the two G-League cars come over to defend Wayne Douglas. A little bit of rear contact there, I think, by Wayne, as he's in a bit of a G-League sandwich as all the guys head through turn one. And I think got away nicely. Oh, double contact there. There's that Kirby and Douglas, and that's Donnelly, and then that's Donnelly into Ottens, and there's three DXT cars caught up there. Someone, who's that gone wide? That's Hoyland, that's Stitchbury, that's Seward and Howarth and Weir all down the order. Absolute chaos at the start for a good handful of drivers, 6 or 7 of them getting caught up at the start. All the while, Wojtek Swiatovic leads the way, and he gets himself away cleanly. Let's take a look at the positions gained to really see the capitalizers there. Stephen Fry and Alex Cohenrath has taken the lead of the AM class in up 12 places. Oliver Lumsden and Graham Matthew, the beneficiaries of that incident as well. They're up into P3 and P4 respectively in the AM class. The biggest losers, as we said, reeling them off. Look at them all down there. Vyman, Hoyland, Aston, Donnelly, Ottens, Stitchbury. Wow, that was a huge pile-up. We'll try and go back and see what happened after we've had the opening laps here. As all the guys head for the first time into the braking zone. I don't see anyone too wide, apart from Huss, who's just lunged up the inside. Oh, and he's very close there in behind. Who's that? Is that Sutherland? It is. So Rob, having started right at the back in P38, is now up into P23, so that qualifying ban hasn't hampered him at all. He's absolutely flying off the start. Oh, he's slow. He's in the pit lane, Sutherland. I'm not sure what's happened there. That's Sutherland in the pits, so that great start is now counting for nothing. As he enters the pit lane there. Got Graham Matthew under pressure on the outside from Paul Cowlishaw. Is he going to keep it held up the inside? Yes, he is. Do they allow the room? Yes, they do. And they get the feet down, even the foots. They get the feet down and get themselves out of turn 3. Still side by side though. He's going to have to leave the room on the inside, and Cowlishaw sneaks up, comes over to cover him off, and that's a position gained for Cowlishaw. Oh, and a wobble there by Matthews as he just got offset. Chaz may have stuck his nose up the inside, and now all of a sudden he's under pressure from Rob Mackay, who's not quite ahead on the outside line. Will he get the switch back here, Rob? And on to the banking. Let's see from Rob's onboard then. Let's see if we can see the slipstream in action at all. Not quite close enough, as I think that's Cowlishaw ahead, who's just come up off the racing line ever so slightly. There's Chaz Draycott in behind. Let's go back then and see what happened at the start. We're looking there at Saunders and Aston. So Aston gets spun and he spins into, is that another flatline car? And those guys are off the track. In fact, no, that's Fretwell who's gone round with Aston. So that's quite a minor incident going into turn 1. And then it was here, you see, Donnelly gets contact by the DXT who's on the grass, can't stop himself, and then he's just stranded there. I'm not sure who that is in the middle of the circuit, and 5 of them there. One of the DXT guys has spun somebody around off the racing circuit. James Howarth, that is, who's come careering into the side. And then the G League cars, and then, is that Danny, I think? Danny Weir with the pink rims there, possibly on the right-hand side of the screen, who spins one of the G League cars. An absolute chaos there at the start. That will surely be in the stewards come the start of the race. Let's see what... sorry. Let's see the race start from the angle of Rob Sutherland and see if he gets a good launch, or maybe he's just picked up most of it from an incident. In fact, he does get a good launch. He leaves the car next to him for dead. Oh, and he's immediately shut down from the car in front, moves over and defends that position. Let's put away from that and cut back to Rob Mackay over the back of his teammate as they head into turn 7. Looking to get the run on the 55. That's Danny Weir up in front of him. The gyrocam really does a good job of demonstrating the banking. The camera doesn't move with the car. As I said earlier, it moves relative to sea level, so when the banking comes along, you really get to see it in action. All those guys, it looks like I'm seeing... Oh, is that wide, I think? Is Danny going to have a slowdown, potentially? Up ahead, and Rob's going to dip into the slipstream. Lovely sound there as we cut away from it, as they pass the camera. I'm seeing Nevin, Charney, Seward, Owens, Donnelly, Howarth, and Ottens, and Donnelly, who've come out of the pit lane. So those guys will be significantly further behind. You can see there Sutherland and Vyman just coming through the chicane now on the back of this pack. And we've got Wayne Douglas here leading this pack with Raz Harper, Jeremy Choker and Duncan Kirby all fighting for position for P4. And the front 3 extending their margin. Wojtek Sulidovic, Matej Spencer and Luke Lucchesi all within 6/10 of one another, battling for the lead. Been a drama for Oliver Lumsden. Let's see what happened to him as he headed through turn 1. As he carried a bit too much speed, is he going to get wiped out? Oh, he's just not really adjusted very well to the cars in front, and he's kind of caused that on his own back there. Got moves happening all up and down the field for the positions down the grid, but I'm interested to see, particularly here, how this works for somebody like Duncan Kirby, who's in the slipstream of 2 cars ahead. But Chioka ever so slightly closer to Harper. As they head now through the chicane, is Kirby going to look for a move? There's been a bit of contact against the wall there from some driver there, I heard. Potentially just on the entrance, maybe not between 2 cars. It might more be right-hand door into the wall. And I think there, Kirby is going to get this move done. You can see the yellow car there just on the left-hand side of your picture. Wheel to wheel. He's really going to have to keep that line tight. And Kirby's going to have to be conscious. As the banking opens up, it's natural for the car to want to come back over to the right-hand side. Don't spin him round. I think they've just about left enough room. As they head across the line again for the 4th time. And is Duncan going to be able to hang this one around the outside? We've got a move there, Harper. And Vyman thinks better of it. Or does he? He's going to put a wheel arch up the inside. And they do get through. And Duncan takes that position up into P6. Ahead of Jeremy Chioka. Now down into P7. Hussein Sarakadesla has the speed here over Hoyland. An out-of-class battle here. Huss ought to be careful. He had a bit of an accident last week, I believe, where we saw him turning on somebody at turn 1 around Brands Hatch, and that was again an out-of-class battle, so we want to be careful here not to see Hoyland spinning around. He's had a bad time of it already, down 11 places. Let's make sure that these guys keep it clean. Nearly half race distance already. That has absolutely flown by. The battle here between Brooks and Bostock. Looks as though Brooks took that position and Bostock took it back from him. And is that going at the chicane? It is. Great move up the inside. Is there going to be a bit of contact? He leaves the room. You can see he had the overlap throughout the corner, did Ashley, and James left in the room. And what a move that is, actually. Let's go back and watch that in the gyro, because that was a great move by Bostock up the inside. It hasn't switched to gyro. There we go. He steps out to the inside line. But crucially, Ashley keeps it pinned and he keeps it stuck in the corner. And James leaves in the room. Sees him there, gives him just a half a car's width. Ashley would have had to be really cautious there. But great racing by those guys there down toward the back of the pack. The battle continues here between the 4 drivers that he cut away from earlier. And Raz now getting swallowed up by Duncan Kirby, so he's had a great lap. And he's set himself up potentially another position as he hangs it around the outside again. Very wide, but they've kept it within track limits. A little bit of contact on the exit there. And I think that is Raz keeping that position for now. And he defends the inside line on the brakes. Wayne conscious ahead of the drivers in P4. He's put a wheel up, he's put a wheel up. That's quite aggressive. That's quite aggressive. You wouldn't see me putting a wheel up on the inside there, but he's done it, and thankfully they both come out okay. Oh, and he's come back over under brake, and he's moved back over in front of the G-League car, has Duncan there, unfortunately. But if that was a GT3 car, I can't help but think that would have spun him around. And how has that done him? That's not done his exit any good, I don't think. Let's see what happens as Chioka looks to get the run. Is Duncan going to defend the inside? We saw Bostock make a move on Ashley just earlier. And this time, is it going to be done again? Duncan does defend the inside. He's going to be bump drafting him ever so slightly now. And the brakes, a puff of smoke. I think there was contact there of his own doing by Chioka. He really should have braked early if he was that close to the car. You either make a move or you brake a little bit earlier. And Chioka has fully offset his line, and potentially is that a slowdown or is that damage? I think he's got damage to the front left potentially off that impact. And now all of a sudden, look at this. We've got a battle for the race lead. We cannot cut away from this for the time being. Lucchese might be fancying his chances. We've got just over 8 minutes remaining. We spoke to Luke last week after Brands Hatch in the interview, and he said he would not like to be the guy in P1 on the final lap. He finds himself in P3, and as we said earlier, that could be the position to be in come the closing stages of the race, getting that double slipstream. Oh, Danny Weir's just passed Graham Matthews up the inside of turn 1. And oh, Graham very, very fast there, actually losing the car slightly. He's gone off the racing surface just about. And that's allowed Gareth Newton to take the place as well. So 2 places down there for Graham Matthew. And Chaz Draco having a move. Why not, son, up the inside? That's an out-of-class battle, I believe. Yes, it is. Chaz mixing it in with the AMs. Let's see where we are there. Battling for P15 on the track. And Chaz Draco thinks, thank you very much, son. I'll stick it up the inside. And we'll get away with that. Let's see how we did that from on board. He doesn't really have the run, but he's got the confidence on the brakes. Ever so slightly, actually, there. He kind of just had no choice. Chaz stuck it at the inside. Graham left in the room. Job's a good one. And he's now all over the back of Gareth Newton in the Suma GP2 Honda. Here's Draycott. Let's see, has he got the run? Oh, look at that. Who's that up ahead? That's Danny Weir. No, it's not. It's Paul Cowlishaw, who's again pushing Rob Smith around the circuit here. Steps to the inside. Is he going to dive? Is he going to give him the room? Let's see at the bottom of your picture. This is probably the only way we're going to have an angle. He backs out of it there. Probably rightly so, does Rob. And allows Paul to take that inside line. But he's got the run. He's got the run, has Smith. And he's going to try and take him around the outside and carry the speed. But it's extra distance going that way. And it's not always the easiest thing to do. He might put himself under pressure from Weir, who you can see is slightly closing that gap on Cowlishaw. Right on board with Weir. Is he going to get the move done? He has. Is he going to be able to stick it? Is he going to get 2 moves done here? He could hold it around the outside. Oh, very small, very wobbly, very wobbly. Cowlishaw's gone to the inside. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but he came absolutely steaming in and took that position. And look at this pack of cars. I don't like it when we've got so many guys, a couple of guys in the pros, a couple of guys in the AMs, in and amongst this pack. Can get a little bit messy. It's mostly AM drivers. Cowlishaw leading the way, and Draycott there trying not to get swallowed up. You see her through the flat turn 4. Oh, and there's a spin. Matthews is gone. Matthews is in the wall, and that's a huge impact. Holy, that's a big impact. Graham Matthews down the order. Take a look at what he saw as he went careering into the barrier. Has he lost it of his own accord? No, I think he's been tagged from the rear, potentially the rear right, and he slapped it right into the wall. Let's see what Chaz saw. I'm not sure if this was Chaz or if it was somebody else. It may well have been. Let's see. Does Chaz just get this wrong? He does. Slight rear contact. I think Graham probably lifted to compensate for the cars ahead. Chaz wasn't prepared for him to do that. That's a slight rear tap, which has sent him round. Not the chicane, surely. Oh, and Weir slowing right down there. What's happened here? Danny Weir not wanting to get involved with that. He gives them all the room in the world. He might have just set himself up for a nice move. Something. Oh, and Danny's in the pit lane. There was an incident for Danny there. I'm just looking at the timing sheets thinking something must have happened to Pentela and Lucchese, because they are now miles away from, well, okay, Pentela isn't, but something's happened to Lucchese. So he's dropped right off the back, and there's nothing I can really do, I don't think, to find that. But Lucchese down there now on the margin, quite significant, nearly 3 seconds. You can see them exiting onto the banking, and he's out of the race. Not out of the race, but out of the race for P1, let's say. But Matthias Pentela can have something to say about that. The times plummeting in the slipstream from 4/10 down to 3 as he heads into the braking zone. Wojtek just covering that inside line. He's going to drift back over just before the braking zone. And you can see Pentela so easy on the brakes there. He really does not want this move to be ready. until the final lap, when he'll look to get the exit potentially here, if not coming out of the banking onto turn 7 and just defend Wojciech to the line. But the strategy is coming into play now for the race victory. Alex Konrads, who took pole position, is nearly 5 seconds clear of Rob Smith, so he is doing everything he needs to do to keep that position and win the race. Andrew Fellows very, very close behind Daniel Saunders. Let's see from his perspective as they exit out onto the banking section. And it's actually Hussein Sarakadesla who's putting him under pressure for P6. The podium place is all wrapped up really in all 2 classes, in both classes I should say. It's Ashley Brooks who's going side by side to Oliver Lumsden here. Is he going to try and hang it around the outside? He dives ahead later on the brakes there, does Ashley. Gets himself up into P9 in class. It's a great turnaround for Ashley. Let's take a look at the positions gained. You can see there 11 places, and particularly Daniel Saunders and Andrew Fellows there, who'll be very satisfied with their opening race. And at the moment, it's going to be Konrads and Smith who get that reverse grid position. So 2 of the AMs could find themselves battling out at the front. Unless, of course, Cowlishaw has something to say about that. He's got quite a deficit to overcome if he's going to get past Smith as we head around the final lap. And it looks as though Matthias has dropped just too far back to make an impact. This could be the white flag with less than 40 seconds remaining. Oh, he's in the pits. Wojciech in the pits then. And now it must be the white flag. So now it's the white flag. Why are people... Everyone's in the pit lane. Is it a fuel issue? Well, not everybody, but a hell of a lot of drivers have come in the pit lane, and that is not to be expected. Is it a fuel problem for a lot of these drivers, and has that just upset this session slightly and completely thrown the order around? There's so much happening at the moment. Everyone is out in the pits. Am I missing something here? We're still racing. That promotes Gareth Newton into the lead of the race. Steve Rubino, who's up there, he started right down in P30 something, P36. He's up 16 places now, taking P2. There's far too much for me to track here. The changes to the order up and down the grid. We'll have to find out what happens if we speak to some of these guys after the race, because that is an unfortunate circumstance, and I can't help but think it's purely fuel related. Potentially, me just throwing a thought out here, are the guys in the slipstream saving fuel? The answer to that would be yes, of course, but is that the reason why? And are the likes of Wojciech and the guys who were punching the air themselves, has that been the difference in saving fuel throughout this session? So, Alex has got away with just coming out in P3. However, that's going to change the reverse grid significantly, and Alex is going to miss out. Gareth Newton and Steve Rubino are going to be the 2 to get the reverse grid positions. Konrads is going to start down there all the way in P11. Anyway, Matthias Penteler, who's stuck out in P2 for the majority of the race, comes home to take the race lead. And Luke Lucchese, is he running out of fuel as he crosses the line? Jeremy Chioka has just passed him. He's taken P2. And that's Wojciech, who's come back to finish in P3. And Lucchese's out of fuel. Lucchese's out of fuel, so it is a fuel problem. Something has gone wrong, and the cars haven't been able to finish the race. Duncan Kirby, is he going to come across the line next? He's out of fuel as well. Oh no. No, 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 no. Who's going to finish this race? The guys who got lapped have finished the race due to the permutations of iRacing. Lucchese comes across the line in P4. He's dribbled across the line. Cowlishaw comes steaming through. He takes P5. Vyman's kept his fuel. He takes P6. Hoyland back up. He keeps a hold of P7. Saunders and Sutherland battling across the line. Saunders is going to take that position. Sutherland, Bostock saves the fuel. Kirby, he's not going to make it. He might just make it. For the crack, I'm going to watch on as he gets passed by Draycott. Fellows, Rubino's going to be on his back soon. He's gonna cross the line in the least dramatic fashion you can imagine, and that is Rubino who dribbles across the line as well. That is dramatic. That has completely thrown the grid for the second race. Wow. You can see there Rob Smith will start on pole position and Gareth Newton, the two guys. Coenrats actually came across the line in P5, which, I mean, it wins him the class, but it doesn't do him any favours for the second race. He'll start in P5 or P6, but he comes across the line to win. You can see so many cars. Who's this? I'm going to slowly go back. Has he crossed the line? This is so odd. This is so odd to watch. I've no idea what's going on. Bostock's still going. That's the end of the session. Holy moly, right. Let's take a look then at the standings and the results for the opening race. We don't have too long. Pentala wins. Chioka in P2 and Wojtek, who led the whole race, down there in P3. You'll still be satisfied, but that will be very frustrating. Lucchese in P4 and Cowlishaw in P5. Draycott got himself up into the top 10 with Ian Stitchbury in P10. And Wayne Douglas unable to finish the race. Raz Harper, Ottens, Donnelly. In fact, there you can see those three. Douglas, Harper and Ottens were they victim of the fueling issue. Let's take a quick look at the AM class. Coenrats did win. He comes home for Titans Racing on his TCR debut to win. Take home maximum points for his team. He's the only one in the team, but he takes home maximum points nonetheless. Gareth Newton comes out of nowhere to take P2 and Daniel Saunders the same in P3. James Bostock does very well, and we have the lights. So that's right on board at the front of the pack, and let's see them as they head away for the second time tonight. It's a wobbly start there from P3. Who's going to get swallowed up? There's a Hyundai, one of the Suma cars, who's again got a poor start, and that is Jimmy Vyman, who's separated himself in between Matt Hoyle and Gareth Newton, gets himself up into P2. We've got Bostock and Sutherland battling there in the background, and they're all going 2 by 2 as they head through the first corner. We've got some couple of guys dropping down the order. Oh, and there's contact there, more contact. Is that Douglas potentially? Yeah, Douglas is round, and he's taken off a G League car. Trying to catch him, there he is. Who's he taking off with him there? That's Ashley. That's not G League, that's Ashley. And those two guys rejoining at the back of the pack. Rubino down a couple of places. Around the outside is that Yayan potentially going around the outside at the horseshoe, I think they call it. He's gone up the inside there of Kirby. And now onto the banking we go for the first time. We've got a few cars too wide. Up ahead, let's see, is that Hoyland? Yes, it is. Hoyland just offset his line there by Lucchese in front. He's in P3. Very, very good position that Luke Lucchese finds himself in. Currently P2 in class, but he'll know he's got the pace over Vyman ahead as they all brake subtly now down into the braking zone. Daniel Saunders in the AM class leading the way. Coenrats has dropped down a few places at the start. He's down 3. And that's Weir, Harper, Bostock and Mackay, who've all gone plummeting down the order. Bostock, Mackay. I think this is going to be the shot. Let's see what Oliver saw. Is it into the corkscrew? Not the corkscrew, the hairpin. Yet there's a wobble. Someone's in the wall. They're all. Have they even? Oh, that's bloody hell. He's done a barrel roll. Have they even... Let's watch that again. If they're at the top of the picture, have they made contact? Yes, they have. That's Raz and I think Danny who've made contact. Let's watch it on board from Raz's angle, who I think is the one who goes slap bang into the DXT machine. He gets a rear tag. The DXT rejoins, and have that, Danny. Go for a barrel roll, mate, and that's Bostock, Harper, and Weir definitely out of this race. Right on with Kirby, who's close in behind Draycott and Coenrads. Let's see how it looks in the class. Gareth Newton still leads the AM class, showing the AM at the top because they have an AM leader, I believe. In fact, Nolan Casey has taken that off the leader. You can see there, James Howarth up 11 places. That fuel problem is going to be really interesting. Are there going to be some guys who think about lifting and coasting? Is that going to upset some of the runs? Are we going to see some reassurance because guys are having to lift? And crucially, is it down to that slipstream? Are the ones who were in the slipstream the ones who were able to finish the race? And how's that going to play out? Because it's the same conditions, it's the same time, it'll be the same fuel. And Kirby's got a bit of a run here. We haven't really seen anybody capitalising too much in the slipstream. And I'm going to cut to Wojtek because I think he's putting the race leader under pressure. Yes, he is. Luke Lucchese. Is he going to step to the outside, or is he going to let Luke hold up the position? You'd think, yeah, ease off, mate. Just ease off. Let him keep that position. You know you've got the pace, and you can take him on the last lap. Be interesting to see if we see some guys pit early, or maybe not early, but pit before the end of the race, to do a quick splash and dash. Is that going to save them the unfortunate circumstance of not finishing the race? Obviously some of them slowly came across the line, but I'm pretty sure there was a few of those guys which I didn't get a chance to look because I know there's not much time. We'll try and look at the results in a bit more detail when we have the 5-minute break to see how many guys didn't finish and see if we can deduce that down to those who didn't finish because of fuel rather than because of an incident. We've got Hoyland around the outside of Pentela as they head into the braking zone before the banking. A little bit of a wobble. Pentela maybe wanted to turn in slightly sooner, but Hoyland did not allow that. And on to the banking they'll go now for the third time. So Mackay and Bostock have continued the race. They're still out on the track, but they are a lap down. And it looks as though Raz and Stephen Fry were unable to continue. Those guys are in the pit lane, and their race is over. A bit of a blip there. Who's that? That'll be Chuoka. No, that's Jimmy Vyman. And actually, look at this pack a lot closer to Lucchese and Solidovic than we thought. And Lucchese, as we said earlier, does not want to be the one who's leading the race on the final lap. Only 5 minutes past now. We've got Oliver Lumsden, who doesn't really have a significant slipstream from the guys ahead. He's under pressure from Owen Seward in behind the battle for P6 in the AM class. And he moves to the outside there, giving Owen the inside line as they head into turn 1, and Owen comes across to defend. Says thank you very much, I don't mind taking P6. Oh, if you're going to let me through, and that's a collision. Looks as though is that Aston who's kept it going, or Collar. No, that's David Collier. There's someone else gone off. Lumsden, Donnelly down the order. Donnelly's off there in the barrier. Let's see what happened between these guys. I think that's Dave Collier who just slips up the inside and he gets turned in on. I'm not sure if he had the overlap. Just rejoins and just unfortunately tags Donnelly there. Nothing he can do about that. He kept it out of the way, and that's just one of those, I'm afraid, for Stephen. Pain, but that's racing. He's in the pit lane now. Let's see, what battles do we have going on? We've got Hoyland still in this battle somewhat. under a little bit of pressure from Chioka in behind. But gaps opening up, quite moderate gaps there between those 6 drivers. All give or take between 3/10 and half a second. There down at the chicane, you can see the rear of that DXT machine stepping out. Matt Hoyland in the 1-2-3 machine, a lovely new livery created by this man. The sign and magenta gradient with the cityscape there on the door panel, and each with their own colours, as you'll see on the top of the windscreen and the wheel rims. Rubino under pressure from Aston. And Matthias Penteler sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:56.9. So he is a man to look out for as he comes up behind Weimann as this pack enter into the first sector, the infield. And it's anyone's race to take now. Wojtek has taken Lucchese for the lead of the race. Let's see if we can find that one. Quite early on. I don't see it, and I'm not going to look for too long, but Wojtek leads, then Lucchese and Weimann. Penteler the fastest man on the circuit as things stand, closely followed by Matt Hoyland, half a second behind in P5 in the Pro class. Had it right the first time. And look at that down there, James Howarth up 14 places from the start. Giles Newton pretty clear of the race there. That's Owen and Dave battling. Steve battling as they exit the infield section, as they go wheel to wheel down towards the chicane. A few guys coming into the pit lane who are still on the circuit. So is it going to be a case that this is now a pit-induced race? Let's see. We had Fellows, we had Wesley, we had Conrad in the pits. We have Howarth now in the pit lane. And Penteler all over the back of Lucchese and Weimann going wheel to wheel with Matt Hoyland. Is he going to get ahead at the inside? Let's see, he's just about a wheel up the inside. Hoyland will leave the room. And he doesn't go nicely side by side through the flat out section there, under braking. Through turn 5 through the West Horseshoe and now into P6. Cleanest of exits from what I saw there from Weimann, so we can't quite capitalise it. A bit of a connection issue there. Wojtek's got ahead and he might stay ahead here. Two G-League cars there and showing the same piece of tarmac. I'm not sure if I've caught that yet this season. These guys aren't usually, I'm sure, too often. We have Ryan Stitchbury, who's putting a little bit of pressure on Paul Cowlishaw. And he's got the pace, I think, to take it around the banking, around the top section of the banking. Cowlishaw will probably maintain the inside line as they head into the braking zone, getting ever so close there. And is Yayan going to be able to get this move done? Cowlishaw will stick it up the inside, I'm sure, as they battle for position here for P8. Yayan, oh god, he nearly spun Kirby around there. The contact was made, but he held it together. And Duncan won't like the feel of that for sure. Oh, switch to the inside, then the outside, and then back to the inside. And Cowlishaw cuts up Stitchbury somewhat there. And that's upset his line a little bit. Now Cowlishaw all over the back of Kirby. Is he going to launch it into the braking zone of turn 5? Kirby defends the inside line. And he's not going to be able to get the switch back. The iron's not there. Which allows Paul to make that move. Look at that grand scan there. What a sight that is. Wojtek still leading Lucchese, then Pentela, and then Hoyland and Vyman, the top 5 in the pros. And currently it's the battle for P7 that we ride on board with. Yayan not that far behind. Critical laps ahead of us then, before the feature. Let's take a look at who's going to start on pole position at the moment. We have 5 AMs in that mix for P15. Graham Matthew and Hussein Sarakadesla will start on the front row as things stand, but Owen Sewell will want to have something to say about that. 7/10 off though, so he's got some work to do. And Yayan again, same pace as last time. Yayan must be carrying a bit more speed through. Is he going to give him a little bit of a bump? I think he has. He's not stepped to the outside. Let's see what Yayan sees as he chases down Cowlishaw for that position. P7 on the cards for these drivers. They've got to get past Kirby first. Yayan braking very early, thinking, you guys go on, slow yourselves down, and I'm going to get the exit. And that's exactly what Yayan's done. They've both ran wide, and that puts him alongside Kirby as they head down toward the braking zone. Up and over the bumps, and Yayan is not quite going to get that move done. He looked like Kirby was going to just stick it in behind him. Cowlishaw thinks about it. Kirby comes across to defend. Door bashing up and down between these guys. And is the space going to be left? Yes, it is. Yayan sticks it up the inside through turn 4 into the heavy braking zone of turn 5. Tricky to get it right on the outside line. Is he going to hang it around the outside line? Yes, he is. 2 Hondas going side by side, and Yayan looks as though he's going to get that move done up the inside of turn 6. Power down through 7. How's that going to look from the onboard of Kirby? We called it, and it happened. Yayan leads them onto the banking ahead. Last time he was on the banking, he was 2 places down. Now he finds himself up comfortably into P7. But crucially, he's going to be costing himself a little bit of extra fuel as each and every lap passes by. Very, very close there as they enter the chicane, and Yayan slow. Oh, and Duncan, oh, what's he doing really? He shouldn't really be there, and Yayan is not obliged to give him that place. This is shocking. This is absolutely shocking. Yeah, we said before, you're not allowed to go, and Yayan is not giving that place up whatsoever. Traumatic, very traumatic by these guys. But I must say, I'm in Yayan's corner there. We said before, no going over the yellow and right lines. That would be like trying to overtake off the racing circuit. And Yayan holds his ground strong. And can he hold his ground here against Cowlishaw? Yes, he can. Very good defence there by Yayan. We've got Max Nevinciani, Portuguese driver, who has just lost that position, unfortunately, around the outside to Rob Sutherland. He finds himself down there in P11 in the M class. Is he going to be able to fight for that position back? Only 3 laps remaining, and the guys towards the front really bringing that margin down. Let's ride on with Max as he heads through the tricky sections here. Flat out left. the rear will look to step out on all these corners, really, and it's very deep there by Sutherland. If Max can keep it tight, he could get himself a good run out of the horseshoe. Yayan still defending that position from Cowlishaw ahead, and Pentilla putting Wojtek under some pressure for the lead of the race. As we said, crucially, whoever leads on the final lap, if there's that slipstream margin behind, is going to be under some serious pressure. Max up 2 places from the start, from P13 into P11, a pretty consistent race from the Portuguese driver as he heads through the braking zone of turns 10. Let's ride on with the race leader as he enters the first sector for the 10th time tonight, and it will be the closing stages. This pack could seriously close up in the slipstream as things continue, and I'm also curious to see how these guys are getting on after a little bit of nip and tuck battling earlier down the banking. Quite interesting that I caught that on stream, actually. I try to stay impartial, but I still know what it's like to go wheel to wheel in the sim. And I know, although it's only simulated racing, you feel the competitive nature in all of us. You don't want to back out, especially not when someone's doing something that you disagree with. Rubino now putting Robin Aston under a little bit of pressure. The Suma GP2 Hyundai driver being chased down by the debutant tonight, Steve Rubino, the American driver. We'll ride on shortly again with Wojtek Swidovic as he comes across the line, and we'll see what Pentilla can do. Can he take the race win away from Wojtek? Crucially as well, let's see what happens with the fuel strategy here. We've seen some guys coming in and out of the pit lane. Ryan Ottens has gone in again. And is that going to cost them? Let's ride on with Wojtek as he heads across what I think will be the final lap of the race. Yes, it is. And Lucchese in behind there, setting the fastest lap of the race. 2/10ths quicker, and only 300ths quicker actually than Wojtek. But Lucchese will be watching on there. And Matthias will be looking to get a good exit from the chicane down at turn 10. And Wojtek will hug that inside line to force him around the outside. Is that going to come, or is it going to be a simple drive to the line for Swidovic? Let's wait and see. There's a slow driver back there. Is that another G-League car? Rubino in the pits, Smith in the pits, Matthews in the pits, Lumsden in the pits. So fuel plaguing these drivers once again. They're doing it right though. On the last lap, the guys haven't been able to lift and coast, and it seems as though less drivers are going in the pits. So some guys have been able to lift and coast. Now let's watch Pentilla. Let's see how for the final time he's going to handle the chicane, which will be the difference between a P2 and a P1. Just steps out to have a look at the braking boards, as we said earlier. Gets on the brakes nicely, down to 4th. He gets on the power. Let's see, we're going to know pretty quick. Nope. I think we might even have a slowdown there, potentially. He's gone all the way to the outside of the track. Let's see Lucchese. Yeah, that is a slowdown, unfortunately, for Matthias Pentilla, who will hang on to P3, I would imagine. But we watch now as Wojtek Swidovic continues this incredible run of form, and he comes across the line to win the consolation race. Closely followed by Luke Lucchese, less than a second separating those two drivers. Good for Luke to get himself back up onto the podium. Matthias down in P3, and the two G-League cars, what a result for those guys. Jimmy Vyman and Jeremy Chioka crossing the line in P4 and 5. Yayan Stitchbury comes across the line in P6, and Matt Hoyland, good result for him as he's suffering from fuel as well. He's got a 10-second gap to Duncan Kirby in behind. Duncan must have had a problem because he was close to Ryan just a lap prior, and he's only just coming across the line now. And we now see Gareth Newton, who comes across the line just. He's out of fuel as well. He wins his class. Robin Aston dropping down the order. Alex Conrad comes across the line in P2. And there you go, Max Devonchani, who just a moment ago was down there in P11, and he's turned that around. It's a fuel-saving masterclass by the Portuguese, and he comes across in P3. A great podium for Max, capitalising on the fuel mistakes. So Hussein Sarakadeza comes across the line in P4, having gained 13 places there. And wow, drivers less than last time, but still, drivers affected by the fuel. Let's see who can learn ahead of the feature race later this evening. So that is the end of the second session, I believe. Or do we still have drivers lapping? No, we don't. The guys are finished, I think. James coming across the line still, I think. Suffering for fuel. We've still got a bit in the tank, but God, this is... Oh, it's gone. It's gone. Has he crossed the... He hasn't crossed the line yet. He's going to cross the line, but the car is gone. It's in neutral. He's free rolling, and he comes across the line casually to take P13 in class with no fuel in the car. So that's really plaguing a lot of drivers. Ryan Ottens did pit, and even he comes across the line with minimum fuel. Rob Mackay comes across the line as well, and that is everybody. The session over, and we'll have to see who managed to finish the race. So let's take a look at those race results. We have a little bit more time this time, so we can take that in. Wojtek Swiatovic then back on the front row of the grid. Top step of the podium, the wrong phrase. Luke Lucchese in P2 and Matthias Pentelet in P3, keeping up that good record, those guys. Matthias and Suridovic in the top 5 in every race last week, and Suridovic on the podium every race last week. Jeremy Chioka and Jimmy Vyman. Good hauls for the Frenchman there for G League in P4 and P5 with Jan Stitchbury, Matt Hoyland, Duncan Kirby and Chaz Draycott. Your top 9 with Alex Fretwell in P10. Rob Sutherland and Wayne Douglas, your top 12 with Paul Cowlishaw, Ryan Ottens, Stephen Fry, Stephen Donnelly and Raz Harper in the top 17, but those last 3 drivers not finishing the race. Stephen Fry out on the final lap of the race. Was that fuel related? Only he will know. As for the AM class then, a change in the order, but not for Gareth. He had a great start, and he had that margin pretty much held the entire race. So he comes home in P1 with Alex Comrats, the debutant for Titans Racing. Another good result for him in P2. That's a P1 and a P2 finish for Alex this evening. Max Devonchani was in the midfield for most of that race, and then all of a sudden he comes up and brings home a P3 for the number 33. Hussein Sarakadesla in P4 and Andrew Fellows for Sapphire Sim Sports in P5. Rob Smith, Ashley Brooks, Oliver Lumsden, Robin Aston and Graham Matthews the top 10, with Daniel Saunders, Steve Rubino the debutant in the top 12. James Bostock finishing quite a way down the order. We saw him coming across the line without fuel in P13, and Rob Mackay, last of the finishers in P14. Dave Collier, Owen Seward, James Howarth, Mark Wesley, Danny Weir, all failing to finish the race on the final lap. Now, we obviously saw Danny involved in that impact earlier on, but he's obviously come out the pits. And has he have those 5 drivers suffered fuel problems again at the end of the race? I'm not too sure, to be honest. And that was kind of crazy. So, with that being said, we are going to take a short break. We only have 2 minutes to go until we get underway again. But I'm going to go and grab some food and grab some water. And we'll be back for the final feature race, where we'll see if some drivers can learn from the previous mistakes, do a bit of lift and coast, save a bit of fuel, and finish the race without a pit stop. Okay, those 5 minutes absolutely fly by. And we'll just do a quick run down to the grid in this position so that we don't miss anything at the start. Max Nevincharny finds himself at the front row, the front of the pack to get us underway. He'll have finished in P15 in class, so an absolutely huge help from whatever happened ahead to get himself in a great position. Alex Kornratz in P2 in the AM class. Wayne Douglas starts on the front row for the pros. And looking up and down there, Hussein Sarakadesla narrowly missing out on that reverse grid pole position. So good luck to Nevincharny, Kornratz and Newton, who found themselves in amongst the pro drivers ahead of this feature race. And we've only got a couple of cars left to grid, and then we will be underway. Here we go then. Have to go back to the blimp, and this is probably the best angle we'll get all night. It's 5 lights and the lights out, and Max has got a great start off the line, and he's going to maintain that margin. We've got that Kirby and Draycott just looking to separate each other going into turn 1. Nevincharny leads, and he's been sent immediately up the inside by Wayne Douglas, who takes the lead of the race immediately. Not too bad for Nevincharny, although he's got to watch out for Kornratz in behind for the Titans Racing team. This is a battle for class lead, and that's Kirby up the inside. 3 wide as they head through turn 3. Fretwell forced out wide, and Kirby is on an absolute charge at the minute. He is up quite a few places at the start. Let's take a look. He's up 5 places at the start and swoops ahead in front of Sutherland and takes that position. Wayne Douglas extending that margin, and we've got to watch out for how Max gets on with the rest of these pro drivers. It looks as though they've all got through. Cowlishaw is in the pits, but nobody. Matthews has had an incident as well, actually. We'll see what happened to him later on. Chioka is dropping down the order. That's Hoyland up the inside of him. And Nick Lucchese side by side with Jimmy Vyman as they head onto the banking for the first time. A good getaway and not too many places. Not too many incidents, sorry, should I say. We'll cut back to what happened to Graham Matthews in a bit. But for now, a ride on as the pack swarm down toward the chicane. Oh, that's a bit dangerous there. That's actually Brooks, who I think has just ran Huss off the road ever so slightly. Let's see what happened there as Rob Smith got at the inside. Ashley comes over under braking, is moving under braking. Did Huss have a wheel up the inside? I'm not too sure. Maybe he didn't command that position by not having enough of the overlap. But just forced ever so slightly off the circuit, drops him down a few places. Nevincharny has a good gap. He's let Kirby through, which is wise. And Kornratz has dropped down a few places as well. Got himself past Pentela in this pack here, nearly 3 wide as they head through turns 2 and 3. Got a big mix up here. And that's to send up the inside by Stitchbury. And that's Pentela who gets the drive, and on the outside of Kornratz. This reverse 15 grid always throws up some great racing in the early stages as the guys just sort themselves out in what will be somewhat of a championship order. There's Wojtek, a little bit of contact with Hoyland on the exit, and he comes across the right hand side of the track almost apologetically. Say, I'll give you a bit more space, and he steps up the inside, as does Lucchese. And is Vyman going to think about moving up the inside on Hoyland? He's given them all a very wide berth. Hoyland looks as though he's going to keep that position, but he's on the outside line. Vyman might have just snuck up the inside. You've got Yayan now going side by side with Matthias Pentela. Dips out of the slipstream nicely there, as does Alex, who doesn't fancy sticking it up the inside of the pro driver. He's comfortably in P2, and Ashley up there in P3, having gained 4 places off the line. When Douglas comes across the line, so that's the fastest lap time of this session at 57.3. Evan Charney still doing well to hold what he has toward the front of the grid, and that's side by side. That's Chioka at the inside of Stitchbury, but Stitchbury will have the inside line going into turn 3. Is he going to stick a wheel at the inside? Just about. He sticks way more than a wheel, the whole car. And he gets his foot to the floor quicker and exits nicely. That's a bit of a wobble, a bit slow out there, and Saunders has to compensate for, I think that's Fry, who's a little bit slow coming out there, and that's allowed Owen Seward to move up and take that position, P12 in the AM class. Also it's happening up and down the grid. We've got Raz Harper somewhat out of position, battling some AMs ahead. That's Collier, Howarth and Lumsden ahead of the pro driver there of Raz Harper. Has got by Nevin Charney. Max has to be very careful here. It's very strategic. He'll be aware that he maybe doesn't have the pace of some of the guys around, and I think that is a telltale sign that he's more than aware of that, sensibly moving out of the way to allow the likes of Stitchbury, the likes of Vyman, Chioka, Lucchesi and Svididovic to get through. Is he going to let those two guys through? And soon, let's take a look, he's going to have Coenrats on his back, and that will then become a clean battle for the race lead. Coenrats in the pits, just as I was speaking about that, he's now not under the same amount of pressure that he might have been. You can see there he now has that 3-car gap down to Ashley Brooks, who's taken P2 in the AM class. After we just saw Coenrats dive into the pits, is that an early splash and dash for Coenrats? I'd get the feeling that it will be. And that's Hoyland up the inside. Oh, and that's somebody off. Who's gone off there? Is that Donnelly in the wall, or is it Lumsden in the wall? Let's take a look. Chioka has gone off track. Is this the incident? Oh, he's been spun around there. Is that Luke and Svididovic potentially? Let's take a look. I think he just gets his braking ever so slightly wrong. He looks to hang it around the outside and just doesn't quite turn in soon enough. And Svididovic gives him a helping round into the barrier, but he gets himself going again nice and quickly. So we catch up with Max, who, as we said, crucially let by those faster drivers, and now he has to contend with Brooks in behind, who will be keen for a race victory. I can't think Ashley's ever found himself on the top step of an ESR podium. And maybe he'll be thinking in the slipstream, this could be his opportunity. Be interesting. We'll keep an eye on the lap times as these guys head around the track. We're not even halfway through race distance yet, so plenty of time to go. And you don't want to make a move too early and find yourself stranded with the other guys behind you in the slipstream. We've got Ottens, who's been taken around the outside. Is that someone crashed there? It's Rubino round. Oh, that's a big impact, one of the G League cars. That's Chioka round. Big impact for Chioka. Let's see how that happened. Oh, that's nasty impact there. So that's Chioka, Rubino and Collier. Collier is the blue and white car who just gets his line wrong. He takes out Chioka, who takes out Rubino, who takes out Weir. I'm going to say that's Danny Weir, I think, down there. And all these guys come steaming through and taking up those positions. That's not the best way to exit the chicane, and that is Steve in the pits. Yeah, in Stitchbury, the next driver to have to take on the man with the most pace. Let's have it right. He's got the most pace in ESR, TCR, and he's got him in his gearbox. Does Yain? And he's going to defend the inside line. He's going to force Wojtek around the outside. And Wojtek's going to take that opportunity. It might not do him any favours when he gets his foot to the floor. But let's see as they exit the corner. Wojtek around the outside. He looks like he has got the pace, and Casey is the next one in behind. Bit of contact there between Stitchbury and Svelidovic. And Lucchese will break early. He'll come off the power a little bit sooner here to try and get the exit. Or will he? Oh my god, I've never seen three cars closer together. Absolutely no given from any of these drivers. Lucchese offsets his line ever so slightly. Is he going to get the power down? Tyres screeching a little bit. That's not going to do his exit any favours. And that might allow Jimmy Vyman the run. Unlike Luke there, I would have thought he would have held off just ever so slightly to try and get the exit, but he ended up staying right behind Svelidovic until the braking zone, and you could hear the tyres. He was asking a little bit too much of the grip available, and he just ever so slightly lost that, that adhesion to the surface, and he's allowed Jimmy Vyman to put him under pressure as they head into turn one for the 6th time, or the 5th time, I'm not quite sure actually. Livingston has got past Howarth, who potentially has a slowdown there. And Ashley Brooks has got past Max Nevenchani. See how this one was done. For the lead of the M class, it's a move into turn one. Ashley quite far back, but he sticks it under brake, and Max cautious. Braking early. I think he'll be satisfied with a positive result. He doesn't have to go for the race winning. Quite a simple move in the end for Ashley Brooks, who takes the lead potentially for the first time in his ESR career. So keen eyes all over that one for Brooks. Being chased down by Vyman. We've seen these two sharing the same circuit quite a lot tonight. Kirby 3 seconds behind Douglas, and crucially he's got Matthias Penciller behind him. Battle for P2 in the Pro Class, and Penciller does step to the outside. On the brakes, and he sweeps in front of Duncan and takes that P2. Charlie wise to once again let the pro drivers through. Right. Making a move now on Alex Conrad's down there for P12 in class. Now I believe again Alex did pit early. So perhaps he will, well, he can push now, can't he? He's got no pressure of the lifting course, so he will hope that that pays its dues come the end of the race. Only 7 minutes to go. Tonight's absolutely flown by with all the, well, not carnage, but with the fuel and everything. That's really thrown this into quite a strange race tonight. Steve's had a bit of a drama. Let's see what happened to him. It's approaching the chicane. It's retired him, I think, from the race. He's reset back to the pits. Is he going to lose the car? Yes, he is, and he's just driven it straight into that wall. Side impact. Better than a front impact, but not what you like to see. Wojtek has got past Stitchbury, as we saw, as they exited onto the first banking, and now the next man to tackle him is Luke Lucchese, who looks like he's got the run in this case. Ashley Brooks, something's happened to Ashley. We'll cut back to that. Max Nevenchani re-inherits the lead of the race, 1.5 second gap to James Howard, who's up 15 places. Brooks has gone off the track, he's rejoined the track, and he's crashed. And he's out. Ashley Brooks out of the race. That's his night of racing over. Found himself in P1, and did the pressure get to him? We're going to check that as Lucchese can't quite get past the iron. Let's see what happened to Ashley. He's gone off at the chicane. And let's see, he's at the inside of Raz. And he, well, let's watch that from the gyro. He was alongside. Would it have been wise to let him go battling out of class? But he sticks it. He carries too much speed, Ashley, unfortunately. Even if the car on the outside had afforded him a little bit more room, he probably would have made contact nonetheless. And then he had another incident. Is this under damage? Yep, he's losing the car. He's losing the car, and he's in the wall. And then he's spun. Oh, oh god, crossed over the racing line there, but he's off the racing surface, and that is Ashley's night over. This Mateus Pentela under pressure from Kirby. Yes, it is. I thought it might have been for the race lead, but no. Still 2.4 seconds Douglas has. I think he's going to come home to win this race, especially with these guys battling in behind. It's Kirby and Pentela battling for P2. Kirby finished P8 in the last race, so he'll be positive and hopeful of maintaining this good finish. Getting very close to bump drafting once again. Ryan Otton's close behind Raz Harper. So Raz Harper close behind Alex Fretwell even. And he does get that move done. Ryan and Luke making moves, and Lucchese is going to go around the outside of turn 1. I think he gives the position back or something. Let's see what happens. Very heavy braking. Stitchbury does stick it up the inside. But is Luke going to fight it back? No, I think that's going to be it as they head into turn 3. Oh, Max has dropped down 2 places. Let's see if we can see what happened to him. Howard got past. Hussein got past. Let's see what happened. Of course, wobbly. I think just caution. Caution more than anything. He's got Oliver Lumsden to deal with next. He will be keen to get himself on the podium. I'm not sure if he's had a podium finish. I don't think so. Lucchese does get that move done. Ryan dips back into the slipstream. That's Lucchese up, and Douglas in the pit lane. Okay, so Douglas is pitted probably to finish the race. Let's see how that pans out, because he was clear out at the front, and that means that Pentela, this man, inherits the lead. And I'm not sure. We don't see any information. We can't check the fuel. So we'll have to see. Has Pentela been able to hang on to some fuel? Kirby is the one who's been in the slipstream, I think, for the longest. That could really do him some favours. Still all to play for, as we saw in both races. It's very hard to predict the race outcome. And it might be something that's just popped into my head. It could be that Max is saving a bit of fuel. Lifting early, you know, taking it easy through some of these corners and allowing some of those drivers through could pay dividends come the end of the race if the drivers have Huss and Oliver into pit ahead of him. Conrad's putting pressure on Rob Smith as they head out of turn 6 and turn 7 onto the banking for what will be potentially the last time, the penultimate time possibly. But let's ride on with Kirby then as we conclude this session tonight, this evening's racing. And he's going to have to make a move, surely. They're going to go on to the final lap. Kirby would be wise to stay where he is and try and capitalise on this kind of move. That is the white flag. It's the final lap then. The final lap of the session here at Daytona International Speedway. We have a race for the lead of the Pro Class, separated by less than half a second. And crucially, as we saw there, Kirby has the pace to set himself up outside the chicane, and he will move to the outside next time around. Keep an eye on the pits there. Saunders and Seward in the pit lane, which promotes Conrad. As we said, Conrad was doing very well earlier and he boxed quite early. Conrad's now up into P4, which I'm sure he'll hold on to. Also promoting Rob Smith and Rob Mackay. Saunders and Seward now out of the pit lane. Let's see if Bostock can hold on to that. Here we go then. It's the second to last traction zone for these drivers before they finish the race, and it's all on the exit from the chicane, and we'll know pretty quickly if Kirby's going to have the pace to do that. Bostock has got past Seward and Saunders, so those guys both down there crucially. Let's see who stutters across the line as the fuel tank empties, and if anyone's going to pick up some late positions right at the end. This is where it counts though for Duncan. This will be where the race is won or lost, and it's pretty level, but he's going to have the slipstream. Early prediction is that it's not going to be enough, but let's see. He could all of a sudden start gaining and gaining and gaining, but he's going to have to go around the car. This could be very close. This could be very close indeed. He just stepped to the outside. I'm going to try and get it from this angle as they cross the line. Did he get him? He got him. He got him at the line. Duncan Kirby has won the feature race by 8 1/1000ths of a second. What a finish. Wojtek Suridovic in P3 setting the fastest lap of the race, and wow, I don't think I've ever seen a closer margin than that. Duncan did do what he had to do, coming out of the slipstream, got the run and was able to go around the outside. 8 1/1000ths of a second. That's kind of taken me away. I apologise to Huss, who comes across the line to win once again in the AM class. And Max Nevinciani has a great race, up in P2 in the end. It ebbed and flowed. He was up and he was down, and he finds himself nicely in P2. Alex Conrads, who's just nicely stayed behind Raz Harper there. He comes across the line in P3 for the AMs, and there's Rob Smith in P4. Let's jump back up to the guys in the Pro Class with Luke and Yayan, your top 5. I'll tell you what a nice race and that was, eh? Not really expected, to be honest, with all that pit lane drama. But that is the session concluded as someone raises the barrier for one final time. Wait as the rest of the field conclude their laps, but what a finish and some great results for many drivers up and down the grid there. Do we have the feature results? No, not yet. We're about to get no right now. So then, what an eventful finish that was. It doesn't even show a difference on the timing sheet there. It was 8 1/1000ths of a second separating your winner, Duncan Kirby, for Steel River Sims, the 174 machine, taking home 50 points. Mateus Penteler fought valiantly, but it wasn't enough. Fractionally wasn't enough. He finishes in P2. Wojtek Swirudovic continues his wonderful podium form and finishes in P3 for Semper Racing. Luke Lucchese in P4 with Ryan Stitchbury in P5. Jimmy Vineman for G League in P6 with Matt Hoyland in P7. Alex Fretwell, Ryan Ottens and Wayne Douglas, your top 10 in the Pro Class. Rob Sutherland and Chaz Draycott, the top 12. With Raz Harper finishing under a minute behind the rest of the field. Jeremy Tioka, Stephen Fry and Paul Cowlishaw nearly a lap down. And Stephen Donnelly, your only DNF from the Pro Class. As for the AMs, it's Hussein Sarakadesla back on the top step of the podium. The number 8 machine for Suma GP2 Honda taking home maximum points tonight in the feature race. Max Nevenchani had an eventful race 2 which promoted him onto the podium or the front row of the grid. Actually started in P1 for the feature race and he's converted that into a nice P2 on the second step of the podium for the number 33 machine. Closely followed by Alex Koenrats, the Dutch driver, on his debut, taking home 40 points for your podium finishes in the AM class. Rob Smith and James Bostock, the top 5, capitalising on some late pit stops there by Seward and Saunders to get them ahead. Oliver Lumsden, Owen Seward, Daniel Saunders, Andrew Fellows and James Howarth, your top 10. With Graham Matthews, Danny Weir, who I think has recovered well. I think the incident he had was in that final race. He's recovered well. Robin Aston in P13. Rob Mackay finishing a minute behind in P14 and Dave Collier the same. Your top 15 and unfortunately Gareth, Mark, Ashley and Steve unable to finish. We saw what happened to Ashley. He led the race temporarily, got it wrong at the chicane and knocks himself out and unable to finish the race. Well, a very, very eventful session up and down the grid. I'm just going to track a few of these positions while we conclude. Let's take a look, why don't we, at the overalls for a change, just to see how things stack up. You can see Huss done very well there to get in the top 10 overall, and Max in the top 12 with those 3 pro guys, separating them in an unfortunate day for Chioka and Fry down there. All in all, sure Morse will be satisfied with that. Let's see the rest of the guys down there as well. Points awarded to the top 20 in class, not to the top 20 overall, so those points totals aren't accurate. With that then, that will conclude the session. We have nobody waiting for an interview this evening. So, with that, we look forward to next week, where we head to, I don't even know, but what I'm going to do for the sake of it is bring up the calendar, because it's something that we haven't done in a long time. We can take a look at the next session, which will be around Spa-Francorchamps, a much more familiar track to some of these drivers, a track that is slightly better suited to these cars. And just like that, we have an absolute bombardment of drivers who've just entered the interview channel. So let's go back and see if we can get a few of those guys in, do what needs to be done. Well, that's not the angle. I apologize to one of the G League cars. That was not my intention. But we've ended up here nonetheless. So, sorry, I'm a little bit unprepared for this. I thought nobody was joining there, so I've changed things around and there's 7 of them in there now. I'm sorry guys, I can't do all of these. I'll be here for an hour. Let's go ahead and bring in Andrew, who's been good to join us regularly throughout these weeks. And that took a little bit longer to prepare than I thought. That's the problem with assuming. Never assume. And we'll bring our first guy into the session. Good evening, Andrew. How are you doing, mate? Yeah, mate, that was that was one hell of a session. And I'll come to some of the strategy that must have been at play for you guys there. But first of all, you finished, I didn't get your first result, but you finished in P5 and P9. So another satisfying session. Quite no podiums for you tonight. But again, with all that chaos and all the fuel issues going on, Must be a strong result nonetheless.
Yeah, first result was actually P5 as well, which when I qualified like P16 or something, I was not expecting. Um, I didn't even expect having to do any fuel saving or anything either. So fortunately, I pitted on the last lap, so I was quite lucky there.
How did you find it in the slipstream? My assumption was that those that spent the race in the slipstream didn't have to pit because they were probably saving a little bit of fuel. Were you in the slipstream most of the race, or were you the one carrying everyone through the lap?
I was in slipstream for some of it. Unfortunately, my pace wasn't too great around here, so they would get with it, extend the lead to with after a second pretty quickly. The slipstream around here didn't actually seem as effective as I thought it was going to be. In GT cars, the slipstream is really effective to catch back up, but in these, it didn't seem as slippery as I thought it was going to be. But no, it was some good racing. Unfortunate turn one in the last race, but it is what it is. Keep on battling.
Absolutely. And did you change your approach at all for this kind of circuit? Because we were talking before the race about how, this kind of track with these kind of cars, it's not a norm, it's not a usual combination. So I wonder what you were doing your practice or when you approach this race, did you think about it any differently to how you would a normal circuit?
To be honest, I've done zero practice up until tonight. I haven't felt the best the last few days after work, so I've literally did half an hour practice tonight, and that was it. Just crack on. But no, I didn't change my approach at all. Just try to get a good lap in qualifying, and then just pick my way through in the races. My race pace has always been better than my qualifying pace anyway, which I think showed last week and this week. So.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. So next week we head to Spa-Francorchamps, which is a much more familiar track, I'm sure, to a lot of these drivers. You got much experience around there?
I've done a few laps. I've got to get some practice in anyway. I'm doing the 24-hour and the GTs in a couple of weeks, so I'll be doing a lot of practice around there in both the cars in the next couple of weeks. So should be looking forward to it, to be fair.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Well, as always, thanks for joining me and another good night's racing. So we look forward to next week when we're back to what I would call, maybe a better suited track for these kind of cars.
Yeah, I think it'd be slightly better track rather than a slipstreamy track.
Exactly. I mean that Kemmel Straight is an opportunity for sure, but once that's over, it's back to normal. Normal racing resumes at that point. So good stuff. Good stuff, mate. I appreciate you joining me once again, and I'm sure I'll chat to you next week.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, Joe.
Always good to hear from Andrew, a new guy in the league, and it's good that he's getting himself involved and, mixing it in with the guys, getting some good results, and not shy of bringing it into the interview room. Sorry, I was distracted there, reading a message. The next guy we're going to jump to is going to be Duncan Kirby. Now, we've seen the best and the worst tonight. A little bit of an incident with Stitchbury in the opening race. But nonetheless, you absolutely cannot argue with a race finish like that. Duncan, what a finish. I'm not even going to talk about the rest of it. What a finish.
Evening, Joe. I didn't think I'd be speaking to you again this week, mate. And then I got lucky there in that last one. Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
Well, we were watching you round from the exit, from the infield, from the exit onto the banking and through the chicane. And I was saying you got to take it easy, get your line right through the chicane. I actually wasn't sure that you got the run, and then all of a sudden the slipstream took effect. You got sucked into the back, hit over to the blimp cam, and I just saw you cross over 8 1,000ths of a second. I can't imagine you've ever had a closer finish than that, especially not for a race win.
Nah, not at all, mate. Yeah, to be honest, I thought he got me. I genuinely thought he took it because he was on the inside, and I didn't see my relative change at the time. But weirdly, I watched Matthias close the gap lap after lap after lap, and we all know how strong he is. I figured Wayne hadn't saved as much fuel as me. The fuel caught us all out, I think.
It caught me out as well.
Yeah, it made it a little bit more exciting, which was good fun. After the first one, I think I crossed the line in all of them, only just in race 1. Managed it in race 2 slightly better, but then I managed it really well in race 3. I thought Wayne would have to come in or save more towards the end, and I figured Matthias must have burnt through more to catch me. But weirdly, I was getting a better run out of the bus stop almost every lap. So I knew if I nailed it on that final one, I knew I'd give myself a chance. And then yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like I always thought I've probably got it in me to take a win in this series if them lot wipe each other out. I thought I'll be there because I figured I'm probably one of the best of the rest after the top 4 or 5 on pace. But yeah, I never thought I'd get him on something like that. So yeah, really chuffed, really pleased with it. Scrappy again, scrappy one again.
But you converted, and it's a good result. So I've been wondering how people have maybe prepared or what they've learned throughout this kind of track. Because as we said last week, and I've been saying to a couple of the other guys, it's not the usual kind of track to find yourself in these cars. Obviously, we're heading to Spa next week, which is, you know, a more familiar track for a lot of guys and probably more friendly for these kind of cars. But did you change your approach in any way coming into this race? Were you thinking more about how to manage? I mean, we found how to manage fuel, but did you change your approach at all, thinking about the slipstream, or was it just gung-ho, drive as you normally do, and see where you finish?
Yeah, I knew I had to start well in all of them, but I do tend to start aggressively in the touring cars anyway. But the only thing I was concerned about for Daytona was turn 1 with the brake bias in these things. Now, normally I would run it down at like 53, 54 on a regular circuit, but I knew going into turn 1, hard on the brakes with the steering input, it just wouldn't work and that it would turn. So I had it pretty high. I think I was on 63 to start the races, and I got braver and braver as the race went on. But I just think it was managing that turn 1 without screwing your tyres too much. I think, and that was the only thing that I had in my mind all week. I didn't even have time to practice tonight. I had family commitments that made me almost miss the race. I just made qualifying, didn't qualify well for the first one. But yeah, it was just one of them. It just fell into place for me on this one. So really chuffed with it, mate. Really pleased. Well, but enjoying every race every week now. It's a lot of fun to be involved with these guys.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, and I've been asking as we go Spa next week. I'm sure you've done more laps around there than you have here. You looking forward to that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll be put back in my box with these guys for Spa. We'll get a bit more back to normal sort of running, I think, on that one. But yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Awesome stuff, mate. Well, as always, thanks for joining me, and congratulations once again. What a finish.
Thanks, Joe.
Let's see how close you are next week. Speak to you soon, mate.
Yeah, nice one. Take care.
Guys, mate. See ya. Right, next up, I'm going to bring in Mr. Fretwell, who I didn't, unfortunately, keep an eye on too much throughout the race. We haven't spoke to him this season, but he's with us now. Good evening, Alex. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, a little bit better after the second 2 races. So, nice bit of time there to calm down after race 1. But no, good to be back. I've had quite a few issues that me and obviously missed out on the GT3 for a few weeks, and now 3 races late to the TCR party, but finally here.
Well, I must say, I've been trying to think of the regulars, you know, the few guys who've been joining me in here the last few weeks. You weren't a name that I had down, so I haven't been tracking your race very well. I haven't been tracking your results. So how did that go for you? I saw you had an incident at the start of one of the races. You were caught up, I think, with 4 or 5 cars. Is that right?
Well, it was so race 1. Obviously, we had the mess at the second 3. Turn 2, 2, 3, whatever it is. Yeah. But I didn't even get that far. I was minding my own business on the outside of 1, and 2 cars came together on the inside, and yeah, unfortunately, wheel damage. So I had to tow, and I was so close after obviously missing out on the first 2 rounds. I was so close to just quitting out of it, but by the time I'd gone through the stewards, there was only about 5 minutes left of race 1, so I thought I might as well stick around. And no, glad I did, to be fair, because race 2 and 3 were brilliant. Yeah, obviously didn't have any experience from race 1 of the fuel saving and sort of what extent you had to go to. Probably got that a little bit better in race 3. Race 2 it cost me a bit of pace, so I think we dropped a couple of positions towards the end of that one, but no, in and around the top 10 in race 2 and 3, so overall pretty happy with that, having not raced since pre-season in TCR, so yeah, can't really complain. And some good wheel-to-wheel racing once we got up and running, once we got through sort of lap 1 and 2. Everyone around me certainly was pretty clean, so yeah, makes a nice change from some of the luck I've been having recently.
Oh, That's a good point. And next week, back to a much more familiar track, don't you think? So perhaps some completely different style of racing back at Spa-Francorchamps, a track that I'm sure we all know a lot better than we do Daytona.
Yeah, again, obviously, following the GT3 calendar, it's going to be a big old track for the TCR. But yeah, I'll take that. I'm quite happy to stretch its legs a little bit and not race on anything like Brands, which Bostock seems to love.
He absolutely does.
No, I can imagine a few of the corners at Spa will be interesting with front-wheel drive. It's obviously going to be a challenge. It always is, but it's another track where no one's really going to be familiar with the combination of car and track, so it's sort of up for grabs, really. And yeah, just sort of drop in on Monday night and see where we stand again.
Good stuff, mate. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to while you're
here? My PC for getting through the night, which is nice. Not what's happened recently.
Hot sim room, probably.
Yeah, I got a bit of a sweat on. These 3 races with very little break definitely take it out of you. And obviously we're finally getting a bit of warm weather here, which is a nice change as well. So yeah, but no, a good night overall. Pretty tricky start, but I came good in the end.
Good stuff, Alex. Well, thanks for joining me as always, and
thanks obviously for the work you're putting in as well. It looks pretty good from what I've managed to catch. So keep it up, and see you next week.
Awesome, man. Thanks. See you later.
Cheers.
Right, we're getting through them. I'm gonna have to do something that could go wrong, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Before we do that, though, let's pull in the man himself. It's Chaz Draycott. Good evening, Chaz. How you doing?
Hello, Joe. I don't know after that, to be honest with you. That was interesting, to say the least.
Well, first thing, mate, fuel. Did it catch you out in race 1? Were you smart enough to lift and coast? And did you have to box in the rest of the races?
Joe, this is me, mate. I'm thick. It took me until crew chief said, you've got to pit this lap when I was on the straight for me to realise that I needed to come in. My first lap of practice was the last lap of practice tonight before quali, so I didn't know what the numbers were going to be like, and I just thought, send it. And then I saw Rob Sutherland actually made the good shout to pit early in races 2 and 3, so I just decided to join him, and it seemed to work out in the end. But yeah, it was an interesting element to add into races that we don't normally get.
It was an interesting thing to watch. Definitely, as you can imagine, me being totally unsuspecting to how much fuel people have left, and then all of a sudden you've got 10 cars just dribbling over the line. Some of them didn't even make it. Some of them, James crossed the line in neutral, and I've never seen a more anticlimactic finish to some of these guys' races, but I think you all understood it in the second and third races. Did you find yourself in the slipstream very much? Because I imagine that would have helped a lot of the guys. Those who were punching the hole probably suffered more on fuel than those who stayed in the slipstream.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made, to be honest. I would have thought coming into tonight that the slipstream would have made more of a difference, but it really didn't feel like it did a huge amount, to be fair. You sort of stayed with the car in front, but you didn't really slingshot past them or anything. And there was me and I think it was Paul Cowlishaw at a few points were just stuck amongst a lot of the AM drivers, and we had a good scrap with them all. Mm-hmm. But obviously you've got to think about class position instead, and it was frustrating at points, but I know it's just it's part of the game in this championship to battle with whoever you're with on track. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't really as important a factor as I would have thought.
No, good. Well, that's that done. And there's going to be a little bit of slipstreaming down the Kemmel Straight next week and down the back section, but
it's not Spa, is it?
Quite like this. It is, mate. Has that disappointed you?
I don't know. The thing is, Spa's never my first pick. Sorry?
You don't sound enthused.
I never know with Spa. I enjoy driving it. Like, once I get into it, I enjoy it. I think it's one of them tracks where it's amazing for racing, but lapping on your own is boring. So, especially in these cars, it's going to be tough as well. Corners like Pouhon, out of Bruchet, flipping Blanchimont. Jesus. That's an interesting one, I think. I'm not sure what to think yet. I'll have to do some actual practice for the next one.
Yeah, and get yourself those laps under your belt. Well, good stuff, mate. And that's obviously probably the only circuit I think that stands out from the rest this week, and that's done. So, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we head on?
Spontex, as always, supporting. and representing. Everyone that I raced against tonight, it was good fun. You for the broadcast, as always. And Jess, who's been my passenger princess tonight. She's sat next to me the whole time, and we've literally just been chatting rubbish the entire evening. And it's actually made it go very, very quickly, to be fair. I can't believe how fast that last race went.
You can convert that into a race engineer, mate, and you never know where you'll end up.
I don't know. We'll have to see how much use she is in the Spa.
Yeah, it might help, it might not. Good stuff, Chaz. Always a pleasure to speak, as we do. And
thank you very much.
I'm going to somehow try and tackle all of the DXT guys at once. So that'll be a bit of chaos.
Good luck, love.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
All right, mate. See you next week.
Awesome, mate. Cheers. Speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Right, so you heard the plan there. It's going to be an absolute mess, but we're going to do it nonetheless. We're first going to drag in Danny, then we're going to drag in Francois, then it's going to be Hoyland, and then it's going to be Rob. I cannot do yous all because there'll have been like 10 interviews, so we're just going to have a bit of a mess,
lads.
and we're just going to hear from the DXT pen and see how that went. We'll start with some sort of civilized order. Danny, I brought you in first. Summarise your night for us tonight.
Bad to worse, really. I had a good start in race 1. Ended up, I think, at the first two corners, I was in P1. Then James Howarth decides to just, doesn't like that. Kills me, kills Moyland, kills half the grid. But I know it's not his fault. These things happen, but it's just frustrating. And then first race again, getting to the end of it, I'm starting to get my groove back, and I get the slightest of contact with Gareth Newton, who taps my rear, and that caused me to crab the whole race after the whole last lap. So I had to literally brake heavily into bus stop and not kill anyone, and then just lost everything after that. But yeah, it's just a frustrating day, really.
Yeah, we caught that James unfortunately sliding over the grass, and it's just.
It's hard.
At that point, so.
Yeah, he's obviously he's not predicted where the two cars that just rejoined are going to end up, and they made contact with Donnelly. Once he's done that, he's not in control of his car. It's just unfortunate. Obviously, he's just hit quite a few drivers in the process.
And were you a victim of the fuel issues going on? I saw you all.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I don't think I finished a race properly. I don't think I've finished a race. I had to pit every single race for some sort of damage. But yeah, it's just one of them days. But yeah, there was a bit of a shock to everyone. Obviously, like we're going along, going, we're not got fuel to finish this. It's like, oh no. It's annoying because obviously this track is probably a good GT3 track. It's not a particularly good TCR track. And it's just, when you're on the limiter so much, you just rinse the fuel.
That's a very good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that, but you're so true, especially in the slipstream. I was thinking about whether the slipstream would help save fuel or whether it would make it worse. We'll cut to Matt next. We'll try and get through the four of yous. Obviously, couldn't do yous individually, although it's kind of what's happening now. So Matt, I didn't track your results, unfortunately, because I don't think we've spoken this session before, but how was that for you, generally?
Not too bad, actually. The results themselves weren't bad. It was just that they could have been better. Like, as we were just talking about fuel, like, every race I came up short. Like, the first race, I don't think anybody realised.
Didn't.
So I had no choice but to pit because I hadn't even thought about fuel saving. So that dropped me quite a way down. And I was like, oh, well, that's that done. But then as I did that last lap, obviously quite a lot of guys physically ran out. So I ended up getting back up to P8 amazingly from nowhere. Race 2, I tried to stick with the guys at the front and save at the same time, but I don't know if the Honda's a bit better with its fuel or if they're just better at fuel saving, but I couldn't match them, and I had to lift off massively on last lap. And then in the final race, I thought, right, I am not running out. So from lap 1, I fuel saved, and I still had to lift off on last lap. So I think, considering the circumstances, I can't really complain with results. Especially, I really struggled with brands last week as well. So it's nice to actually have some pace back, but just unfortunate. I didn't have fuel to make it to end. But one of them things, it was same for everyone, so I can't blame it too much.
And good to see you battling on and making it here tonight. So good for you. And it's Spa next week, a track that I'm sure you're more familiar with, perhaps than you would be Daytona. So perhaps normal service resumed in some way next week.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, it is another fast track, so I think as the management of TCR, we might have a little look at that fuel before we arrive there next week. But It shouldn't be as bad as it was here. I mean, obviously, this is all probably a good 50%, if not more, of the lap is flat out. So yeah, hopefully we're back to business as usual. Spa's a bit more of a traditional track. Hopefully TCR cars will be a bit more at home. We'll get some better racing.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, and I hope so for everyone's sake and for my sake as well. Francois, I'll come to you next. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you've had the best night of racing tonight.
No, I don't see why you're saying that, mate.
Well,
I just want to say before we speak about like anything, I just want to say I've been interviewed as a winner, and now I'm being interviewed as a loser. So I've gone full circle.
You have. I've got your final result written down in front of me, which was a whopping P20.
Yeah, bro.
But
Twice.
The other two are twice. Okay, so what was the other one? Do you remember?
11th.
P19.
No, fuck you, not 11th.
So yeah, not too good. But how did you manage it? Did you get caught up in incidents, or did you drop it yourself, or how did you?
No. Normally I don't really practice a lot for TCR. Just arrive and drive, and like most of the time it's fairly okay-ish. I think tonight showed that it's sometimes not enough, and that's an understatement. But I got caught into the fuel save episode where I was like, my crew chief just said I had like two more laps worth of fuel, and I was like 5 minutes away from the checkered, so I just understood something was wrong. But yeah, no, it's a night to forget for me. So luckily we still have a drop round in TCR, so I think this one's gonna take care of that. But yeah, I was a bit ranting and venting in the chat and Discord. But yeah, I don't think these cars are suited to race on tracks like that. But I understand, and it's really a nice move from the organizers to want to make both calendars, GT and TCR, match, so we don't have to pay for extra stuff. So hats off to the organizers for that, and that's something I support 100%. It's just I feel it's a bit frustrating having to fuel save and having to drive tracks like that.
Well, it was totally unexpected. It caught me by surprise, as you can imagine, as I watched the cars dribbling over the lines. Thoughts for Spa next week? As Matt's alluded to, it's another track with long straights and the back section, the camel straight, so could be hitting the rev limiter again, could be another concern for fuel, but again, a track that I'm sure you've driven quite a lot more than you have this.
Yeah, a bit more experience around Spa, obviously, but let's just say my objective is score more than 17 points.
Well, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. It will be incredibly unlucky if you didn't, and I wish you the best in trying to achieve that next week. Finally then, Mr. Mackay, you've eagerly waited there for God knows how long, could be nearly half an hour as far as I'm aware. So you can have your piece now, mate. What would you like to say? How was your race? How was your fuel? And did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed the races. They were a mixed bag. Race 1, got myself a 40-second stop-go for ignoring the slowdown or trying to tactically do the slowdown, and it failed.
Right.
But that allowed me to go flat out all the way. I didn't have to worry about the fuel in race 1, and gained back the places I'd lost as everyone else ran out of fuel. Race 2 was, I think it was a bit meh. It was one of those, I don't really remember it. I don't think the result was bad. I know definitely at the end I was behind Ryan Ottens, and we were both trying to fuel save to the end. Ryan running out just in front of me, so I did the honourable thing and gave him the push to the line. He was class ahead of me anyway,
I think I caught that on the stream actually.
It didn't affect finishing position for me, and it helped him get to the line. And then race 3 had an incident early on. I think it was turn 1, lap 1. I got turned around as Andrew came back on track after getting caught in an incident himself. I mean, we were side by side. I had a car on my inside, and he just clipped the back end of me. It wasn't one of those it wasn't intentional, it was purely accidental. He's apologized in chat as well. So
Good.
I recovered. I got points, so I got to the end. I'm happy.
Good stuff, mate. And I'll ask you all the same. Spa next week. Must be looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, as Matt alluded to, the management on TCR are going to have to look and see what the fuel usage is like, and if we need to alter the fuel load for Spa so that it's no fuel saving, then we'll get that work done and let people know beforehand.
Yeah, I think that's a definite good plan. It kind of takes away the element of the sprint race when people have to pit, but
Yes.
yeah, we'll see what we can do throughout the week. And I'll come back to Danny for one last time, just to give any shout-outs that might be necessary on behalf of himself and DXT, considering we have 2/3 of the team here right now.
Well, he's the owner as well.
Of course. Of course.
Well, always there. Well done to the
Busy.
boys, obviously. I shout out to everyone apart from James Howarth, who will be under investigation. No, but honestly, like,
internal audit or something.
yeah, like, we're literally going to look into his membership. But no, it was a it was a good day for us as a group. You know, we always have a laugh and a joke. It's just the guy, and we didn't get the points we needed. But yeah, I'll always shout out to the boys. They always do their best, and it's a great. They make the race fun, no matter where you're finishing. Like, I don't think I finished in the single digits, and they still come away laughing. So yeah, so thanks to you guys, really.
Awesome stuff. Well, I'm glad I managed to get through everybody that was in there. There was nobody when I finished the race results, and then all of a sudden there was like 9 people there. I was like, right, let's get on this then. So I appreciate you all for joining, and that wasn't as much carnage as I thought it was going to be. So
should have raced at him.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Right, gents, I'm going to wrap up. So I appreciate you joining me nonetheless, and I'm sure I'll speak to you a few of you guys again next time.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Cheers, bud.
See you.
Cheers, mate.
Right, a great group of lads there in DXT, familiar with racing with some of those guys. We did the 24 hours of the Nordschleife a couple of months ago, and Hoyland, obviously my teammate in GT3, so familiarity's there. But that was quite something. We had the controversy of the fuel, we had the last second overtake there in the feature race right at the front, and a host of interviews there to deal with. So that's the hiccups have come just at the right time. That's going to be everything from me for tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed what seems to have been quite an extended stream there here at the Daytona International Speedway. Until we meet again at Spa next week, I hope you enjoy the week, and we'll speak once again very shortly.